You, yeah, you, come here. Come here. Let me talk to you for a minute. We got Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz 2. How do I see it going? Do I think this is a good fight? Do I think it's a bad fight? Come on, Tony's Reviews. We know you critical of Deontay Wilder. Give us what we want. Talk about Wilder's bad decision for this fight. And I'm going to say this. This fight is not for me, and it's not for the fans. This fight is for Deontay Wilder. See, I've noticed one thing about Deontay Wilder, and people might not understand this. In my opinion, watching him, he listens to the media. He listens to YouTube. He listens to mainstream media. He listens because you could see it with the build-up with Tyson Fury, how irate he was getting over Tyson Fury struggling. Everybody talking about this, talking about that, but they don't really talk about the struggles that Deontay Wilder went through, and Tyson Fury talking about, oh, people in your own country don't know you. He paid attention to that, and you could see the fire behind his eyes when it was mentioned. You could see that when people were talking about Ortiz would have beat him had the referee not gave him extra time at the start of the round, which really you shouldn't do. But that's when they decided to bring the doctors in to check him out, to give him that extra time. Now, personally, I don't feel that extra time mattered. Luis Ortiz had already blown his load. And once an old man blows his load, there ain't nothing left but dust. And he's just going to blow off into the wind. Just like that dust. See, I really believe that Wilder, his number one strength is not his power. It's not his speed. It's not his Michael Phelps swimming out of water style. That's not his greatest strength. His greatest strength is his belief. Now, when you look at Wilder speak, he even has a saying, what is it? Believe it, something, something, receive it. I don't know what he says, but believe it's in there. And there's one thing about Wilder that I gave him credit for several months ago when I made a video saying he's actually the man of the division. Regardless how you look at it, AJ lost. AJ is no longer the man. You can't be the man if you've been beat. Is Ruiz the man of the division? I don't think he has enough credibility, even though he beat AJ, who I had second to Dillian White. You know, I haven't seen enough from Andy Ruiz to say he's better than Wilder. But the thing about Wilder is he believes. And you can see that belief in everything he does. He believes that if he can touch you, he can beat you. If he can just barely clip you, he's going to win. He believes so much in himself and his power and his God-given talent or ability or gift, how you want to look at it, that he never stops. You saw that in the first Ortiz fight, to where Ortiz damn near had him guard Wilder's hip. Looking like he doesn't know what to do. A strong breeze can knock him over, but his belief in himself and knowing that if he could just touch him, the fight's over, kept him in the fight against Tyson Fury for 12 rounds. He got outboxed, in my opinion, for 12 rounds. But he never gave up because he still believed in himself. And he believed that if he could touch him, it's over. And he clipped him. And he barely clipped Fury, and Fury went down. He got hit a second time, but the initial hit put him down. So, to me, Wilder's greatest strength and what it's going to take to beat Wilder, and I'm not saying Ortiz cannot beat him, but what I really believe is going to take to stop Wilder is somebody who can absorb them punches and look at Wilder like he did nothing to them. Now, we don't know how hard he truly hits because he really hasn't fought the cream of the crop at the top. He hasn't really fought that. But what he has fought so far, they haven't been able to take his punches. And you have got to take that belief out of Wilder. And if you don't believe me that he believes, then check this out. What does he say he's going to do to people when he hits them? I'm going to baptize you. That's what he says. Baptizing somebody is a form of religion. A form of religion is a belief. He believes without a doubt. You can look at it whenever he talks. He believes. Touch, fight over. Now, with all that being said, of what's really going to stop Wilder from winning the fight is absorbing the punches, which isn't going to happen, into the second fight. Why did I say this is for Wilder? As I explained earlier, because Wilder feels like he's got so much belief in himself that I feel like he feels that he can't understand why people are saying that he got a gifted time given to him, saving grace given to him. He can't understand why people can't see that he's better than Ortiz, that he put Ortiz to sleep, but yet there's still a controversy going on with it. And because of that, because he believes so hard in himself, to me, in my opinion, this is something that he's got to do to prove to himself that he's better than Ortiz, because he doesn't want no ifs, ands, or buts. No maybes. Just like Stavern. No maybes. Stavern survived the first time. Didn't get knocked out. The second time, it was brutal, because you could see how much more fire he had behind him when it came to that second fight. You could see it. The man truly believes in what he's saying. Now, Ortiz is getting in phenomenal shape. Ortiz is looking like the best Ortiz we've seen with how hard he's training. But is it going to matter? Ortiz just had a fight against Christian Hammer a few months ago, and he looked horrible. He looked horrible. There's things out there saying that Ortiz is really 50 years old. I mean, does that look like a 40-year-old above me? Does he really look 40? I don't really think he's 40. In fact, I was recollecting on an interview Tyson Fury did a long time ago. I believe he was in a diner. It's like 5 or 6 years ago. Tyson Fury was talking about Ortiz, and he said the only thing he's worried about Ortiz is him expiring, meaning that he's too old, that he's not worried about fighting Ortiz, because by the time they meet, he's going to be expired. He's too old. And I don't see Ortiz as a boogeyman. I believe it's something created by Deontay Wilder. I don't see anybody scared of Ortiz. It's just that when I look at Ortiz's resume, I only see one good win, one legitimate win, and that was over Brian Jennings. He really hasn't beat anybody outside of him. So the problem with Ortiz is his age. And nutrition is great. People can last longer, have better longevity, but the issue is reversing time. If you gas early, it's very hard to reverse when you're older. Yes, you can train harder, but normally the older and older you get, the quicker that fuse burns out. Once it's lit, it's getting faster until there's nothing left. It's just all burned up. And Ortiz is very dangerous early because he has a hard hit and he's very good at counterpunching. But if Wilder is smart, he'll fight at range, wait for Ortiz to tire down in the 6th, 7th round, and then put it on him, because we know Wilder's not going to get tired. Wilder is always in phenomenal endurance shape. I'm curious to see how heavy he's going to be, because I'm telling y'all right now, if Wilder comes to this ring like 230, 235, it's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. Y'all saw what he did to Brazil coming in at like 223. The heavier he gets, the harder he's going to hit. And it's a good thing, because I feel like when he fought Tyson Fury a lot of times was bodying Wilder around the ring, and Wilder was just too small to do anything. And I really feel like since that fight, that's why he's making it a point to put on his weight. And I'm curious to see what he's going to weigh, because if he comes in heavier than what he was before, it very well could be over within the first couple of rounds. I don't think Wilder's going to throw caution to the wind, because he knows Ortiz can hurt him, and he also knows Ortiz isn't going to last the stretch of the fight, especially if it's at a high pace. Their first fight was at a slower pace until the action really started up around the 5th, 6th round. Ortiz got the advantage, blew his load. 8th round comes around, Deontay Wilder starts taking over, and then we all know Ortiz gets knocked out, but by the time he got knocked out, you could have blown him over because he was too exhausted. So again, I don't think that this is a fight in Deontay Wilder's mind for us as fans. I think this is a fight that he feels he needs to do to prove to himself he is the one that he says he is. He is that chosen one. He is that one that was blessed that his grandma told him about. He is that man. And I can't disagree with this fight because of that fact. I have to say, in that aspect, this is a great fight for him. Now, another question is, should this be a pay-per-view? Showtime said, nah, we don't think you're going to do the numbers. We ain't putting this on pay-per-view. So he's not even a Showtime fighter for this fight. He's a Fox fighter. Even though he's with the PBC, he doesn't fight on Fox's platform. He fights on Showtime. Showtime didn't feel like this was going to do the numbers, that it was worth putting it on pay-per-view. And how do I feel about this fight? I don't think it'll do amazing numbers. I don't think it'll sell out a ring. But I personally feel that if you win a world title, regardless of your division, if you are able to be on TV, it should be pay-per-view. You earn that right by being a champion. You earn the right to be a pay-per-view star by having a belt. And if you don't get a lot of views, you don't get a lot of views. But I don't feel a champion should be on free TV. You've done too much work. Whether people want to argue he took the easy route, didn't fight a whole lot of hard, people won the vacate, that doesn't matter. The fact is, he's got a belt, he's a champion, he is deserving of a pay-per-view slot, regardless of numbers. Numbers don't matter. Now, can you get a publisher to put you on TV? That's a whole nother question. But me personally, I feel that once you win that title, you are a pay-per-view star. You earn that. That comes with the title. Now, if people pay for it, if they don't pay for it, that's on them. But at the end of the day, I still, again, and I'm beating it down because you know I ramble on when I don't do things like my last video to where I script it. He's a pay-per-view star because he's a champion and he deserves to be on pay-per-view. If you don't feel like this fight's not worth it, then don't pay for it. Me personally, I'm going to watch it because I like heavyweight boxing. I like the big boys. I would say the lowest I go is welterweight, unless it's Inuyasha, a.k.a. Inoue. Well, let me say it right. Inoue, a.k.a. Inuyasha, a.k.a. Tagame, a.k.a. Sit Boy. Unless it's him, I don't like watching the little fighters fight. I just don't. I'm not a little dude. I don't like watching little dudes. That's just me personally. I like watching skillful fighters, but once they get to a point of where they're too small and the punches just come too fast and they don't do a lot of damage, I lose interest. Regardless, back to the point of Deontay Wilder. Yes, this should be a pay-per-view fight. No, I do not believe he's doing this for the fans. I believe he's doing it for himself to prove to himself that he is the one that he says he is and he does have the power that he says he has and he can beat Ortiz without any help needed. That's what I see. Do I think Wilder's going to lose this fight? No. I don't think he'll lose this fight if he fights smart. I think the danger zone is the first 5 rounds. 6th round, Ortiz is going to start to slow down. 7th round, he's going to slow down. By the 8th round on, you could just beat on him because he's going to be too tired as long as you're making him move those first 7 rounds. So, another thing. How can Ortiz win this fight? To me, and I call this, y'all can go back on my videos. I like to say this because I dealt with the hop step. I was talking about Deontay Wilder's hop step before any other big chatter. I know I only got 500 subs. I don't care. Look at the record of their videos. Look at mine. I caught it way before. The hop step. In fact, I believe I brought it up before the Tyson Fury fight. The hop step is the most dangerous punch that Deontay Wilder has. If you give him room, he will come in, boom, boom, and come straight down the pipe. That is like the straightest punch. One of the only straight punches he throws is the straight. He'll come from way back here. Jump, jump, bow, and it's in your face. And he's got 1,000% of his body behind it because he's not just throwing his body into it. He's not throwing the speed of his sprint into it. And you know what? Wilder can move. When Wilder hop skips, he's across that ring and like a 100-yard dash, a 40-yard dash. Like he's coming at you like a Usain Bolt. He's coming at you like Barry Sanders. You know what I mean? It's not a slow attack. So you got to be ready for it. Because if you give him that room and he can come in, and the thing too is, It really is. Like, I talk a lot about his bad technique. Like I said, to me, it looks like he fights like somebody swimming out of water. When he gets to doing all that windmilling, it just looks like the breaststroke to me. He's just breaststroking. But when he does that hop step, you will see this hand is always protecting him. He's coming here. Boom. It's a flawless attack that he has. If there was a such thing as power-ups and special moves in boxing, that would be his. That's when he's the most dangerous. When Ortiz had success against Wilder, he was up close. Even in the Brazil fight, Brazil slightly caught Wilder. It hurt him a little before he got destroyed when Wilder got the gap after that. You have to stay close to Wilder, because if you don't and you give him that room, because he's so wild, he gets all that torque. Once he gets that torque going, it's a fast attack. And he's got enough power to hurt you and stun you to keep piling it on until you drop. So I see Ortiz having to get up close and stay close. That's the only way he's going to win. Personally, I don't think he can do it. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities, because Wilder did get caught the first time. I don't foresee it happening, especially if Wilder comes in heavier, because not only does your power increase with weight, but your damage absorption also increases. Especially because Wilder's so top heavy, a lot of that weight is going to be distributed from the waist up, which means the neck is going to get thicker. The neck is a shock absorber. So the more weight he puts on, the more punishment he can take. So maybe those punches that hurt him the first time might not hurt him this time, because he's becoming more filled out into what he naturally should be, not super underweight like he's been. And that's going to be it's going to be a force to reckon with the heavier he gets. Now, if he gets 280, 290, of course, that's too big for his frame. He's never been that big. He shouldn't be that big. He doesn't have to be a bodybuilder big. But in my personal opinion, if Deontay Wilder can get anywhere from 6'7", 235 to 255 in that range, scary. That's a scary fighter at that weight. That's a scary man. And we're going to see what happens. So that's my 2 cents on the whole breakdown. If Wilder gets that distance, he can knock Ortiz out with that hop skip that I like to dove. And I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be entertaining. I'm going to buy it. I don't really think at this point in stage in Ortiz's career he's going to win. But anything can happen early, because the one thing that you lose last is power. That's why all your power lifters with world records are normally in their late 30s to early to mid 40s. That's when you are at your strongest. And when you're not exhausted and you're at your strongest, you're at your deadliest. So them early rounds is the rounds that Wilder's got to be the most cautious at. Also, a negative to getting older is the older you get, the less damage you can absorb, because your body doesn't recover as fast. So the older you get, the quicker it is to break that person down. So with that being said, Wilder could very possibly hit Ortiz early, and because of his age, that's it. He just didn't recover from it. Like I said, this is an interesting fight. I give it 2 thumbs up. I'm going to watch it. If Wilder wins, we'll see Fury next, as long as Fury doesn't back out of it, which I don't know if he will or won't, because I've already seen Fury back out of the Wilder fight. I think Wilder might have put some fear in him from that punch, and I don't know if Fury actually wants to deal with that punch again, even though I feel he won the first fight. We're not the ones being hit by Wilder, so we're not the ones going in there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what type of fear Fury's feeling about that power, because he felt it, and even Fury admitted that the power is real. And like I said, the heavier he gets, the bigger he gets, the harder that power is going to hit. So Fury keeps saying, I'm going to end on this, because I know whenever I just talk, I just keep talking. Like, these videos go 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes long, because I could talk forever on boxing, because I love it. But Fury keeps talking about if Wilder couldn't beat Fury the first time. That was his only shot that he had. That's when Fury was at his worst. But from my outlook at it, if Wilder is getting heavier and heavier every single month, every single fight, he's getting bigger and bigger. And I already watched him on a clip on YouTube to saying when he goes to the gym, he doesn't want to do boxing things. He's trying to work on his strength. That's even worse. Evander Holyfield was a bodybuilder. It didn't make him get tired. All these people think the muscles make you get tired. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's the way you train. And with Wilder's already God-given power, if he gets strong and weight behind it, I'm telling y'all, technique ain't gonna matter. And it is what it is. Like, I've been very critical over Wilder. And until Wilder steps up and comp, I'll stay critical. But I can't be critical over this decision because I feel like Wilder needs this win. He needs to prove to himself more than anyone else. He needs to prove to himself that he could beat Ortiz without needing help from anybody. And then he's game to fight anybody. So that's how I see it. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.